Did you watch all the fights?
I watched most of the fights. I watched the
Okay.
majority of the card.
So did you see before we get to, because there was three like really big fights towards the end of the card. Four, excuse me. But there was another one right before that. Hamzat. Did you see him fight?
Yeah, he ended the fight with a submission, I believe, right?
Yes. Now, what were your thoughts on that fight?
From what I remember watching that fight, he kind of dominated the fight the whole way through. I believe it ended in the first round because this was his first fight back.
Since COVID.
Since COVID, yeah. So to me, he looked like a beast and he dominated. It was a fight that I'm guessing many people were coming into this fight wondering how he would perform. And he just did a star-studded show. I saw as far as people on Twitter going and saying it's like he's cheating because he has Habib in his corner. But
you're mixing up two fights, but
okay.
Well, Hamzat was pretty like dominant. If you saw the fight, he lifted up Li Jingliang and to the corner where Dana White was and spoke to Dana White and then took him down and then beat him and then submitted him. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of that. Li Jingliang defended one takedown, and after that, the fight was pretty much done in the first round. Hamzat's only been hit 2 times in the UFC.
That's crazy.
And he's punched out his opponents like over 200 times.
Yes.
That's scary, man.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
That's scary.
His next fight should be a top 5 contender fight.
They're saying
it's time. Let's not bullshit it. It's time.
They're saying I've heard the names Magny thrown out.
Nope.
Luque.
Okay, that's a good fight. That's a solid fight.
Diaz.
No, he's gonna ragdoll Nate.
Come on, man.
He'll kill Nate.
People will find a way of putting
they love to. I love it. They want the Diaz's to fight everybody. It's great. And the last name was Burns.
Okay, that's a top 5 fight.
I would like to see that.
I think Burns is probably the most fitting, personally. I think that Burns is a real big placeholder for, hey, you're either going to be in the top 5 or you're going to get knocked back. And he's the guy to do it. Well-rounded, power in his hands. You can't really mess around with him. He's trying to finish the fight as well. I think that's the fight he does. And if he goes in there and puts it on Burns like that, he needs to be fighting Usman next.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see. That would be interesting to see. I mean, it also would depend on his performance against Gilbert as well. Because if he starts his Gilbert like it's nothing, and it's like yo, you made your way to the title shot.
Now, if he were to fight Magny, I wouldn't be mad at that fight either. But I feel like he honestly would go in there and beat Magny.
Yeah, I think he would run through Magny. I think he'll also run through Nate as well. He needs to. Luque is a great option, and freaking Gilbert Burns is also a great option. I think he should also get a chance at the loser of Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal. The reason why I say that because of ranking. So these are fights that he needs to have a top 5 opponent. But if he can't because they're all booked up or they're all ducking him, then at least top 10. But if I was him, I would have taken the Neil Magny fight. That is a waste of time unless he just needs a paycheck.
No, I think he wants to go for the title. The way he's running through people, he's not trying to waste time. I think he's going for the belt. Like, it makes sense for him to fight him, but at the same point in time, the way he just ran through his last several opponents in the UFC just put him in the top 5 at this point.
Yeah, he needs to start fighting elite competition. At this point, he's just ragdolling the lesser competition.
When you lift somebody up to the corner to go talk to Dana White and do it easily and then win the fight immediately after that, hey, look, I didn't try that hard.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it just shows at that point, it shows you like you said, he deserves stiffer competition at that point because it's not, that doesn't even do any justice for him.
Yeah.
It's hurting him because it's like, because you remember with Habib, when he was literally extending fights just so he can get rounds in because he was dominating everyone. So it's like that type of talent you want to make sure you safeguard it, because definitely someone like Dana knows that, like, hey, this kid could be something. And definitely when you have someone like Usman sitting at the top, when you look at that top five, and you get to that top three and the champion, it's not an easy bout. It's not an easy way to the championship by no means. So him going into a top five fight like Burns or Vicente Luque, I think we would definitely get a better understanding of where he sits in terms of like that for the division. So
100%. So now, do you want to lead us into the next fight on the card before we close out the recap of this show?
Well, I just wanted to, at this point, I want to talk about the 3 last fights on the card, because those were the 3 that we really enjoyed, and I think they have the big storylines from the card. First off being Islam Makhachev versus Dan Hooker. Now, this is the fight where Khabib was in the corner.
right.
And I saw a meme earlier today where Khabib was like holding a PlayStation controller as Islam had Dan Hooker in the submission, like he was trying to tap him out in UFC on the game.
Jesus, man. Jeez, man. I blame Hezbollah.
Oh, wow.
Nah, it was a good bout. I mean, I was keeping my eyes peeled for this because I know you've been talking about seeing Dan Hooker fight.
Yeah, he lost, man.
Yeah, he was doing pretty well, but it wasn't enough at some point. Like,
I don't really think he was ever in the fight. I mean, if I'm being honest, the fight was only but so long. He took him down and kind of just worked him into the submission. And by the time the submission was put in, Dan Hooker was his arm was under his body in the way where he couldn't tap out.
You're right. My bad. I'm thinking of a different fight.
Oh, it's all good. No.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a different fight. Yeah, it was a quick one. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, when I saw it, I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, he's clearly the guy at lightweight. I mean, I don't
title shot.
Yeah, he's in a similar situation with Hamza where he's just running through all of his opponents. And like before this fight, I was like, all right, Islam's cool. But like when he beat Dan Hooker, I was like, all right, this is it. You know what I mean? Like he's now doing this to people who Dustin Poirier had a war with Dan Hooker. He went in there and finished him in a few minutes easily. You know what I mean? So like I know MMA math isn't always like, you know, the great thing, but yeah, he made it look easy.
Yeah. Shout outs to him for that too, because it's definitely when you, like you said, when you see it, because it's very impressive when you watch like fighters. Because I think we talked about this before, where you're able to see certain fighters where it's like, oh, this, when you do the math of like, oh, he's having a hard time with him, so this has to be a good fight. But then he gets starched by another guy. But it shows you like that, just that the margin of the margin between each fighter when it comes to talent levels at the end of the day. So
yeah. So the next fight, the co-main event for the night, Piotr Jan versus Corey Sandhagen. Lau was waiting for me to mess up his name. He listened to that. Like that's crazy. Piotr Jan comes away with a decision. I was watching the fight, and you know, at first I had the fight 2-2 heading into the 5th, but like I understand why the fight was kind of like scored the way it was, so I'm not really mad at it at all. I think Piotr Jan had a great showing. I thought that as the fight went along, he got stronger, and you know, just like similar into the Aljamain fight, where it seems like these fighters think that they can outpoint him or just kind of pressure him, but he doesn't wilt away later on into the fight. One thing I also noticed that Corey Sandhagen's corner, all they said in the last fight or in the last round was, just make sure and touch him. You don't have to knock him out. What type of fucking advice is that?
It's bad advice.
That's terrible, terrible advice. Like,
what you mean? Just touch him. You ain't gotta knock him out.
What? Why did they have him going into the 5th round, assuming he won the fight? In that close ass fight.
Like, that fight was entirely too close. The fight was entirely too close. The same as you. I had to go in 2-2 going into the 5th.
Really?
Yeah, and
I
it,
thought,
well,
I
listen.
thought Jan was
I'm not
punching.
crazy.
Well,
I thought
listen.
Jan was
Well,
boxing his ears off.
well, listen. Hear me out. So I watched. This was ended up being a fight I ended up watching like 2 to 3 times, right?
Okay.
So in the first time watching it, I had a 2-2 going into the fifth. But after rewatching it, I see how it can easily be a 3-1 going
Exactly.
into the fifth. Because I feel like I feel as though Puerto
Pilter.
Pilter.
It's like saying peel then tur.
Pilter.
Yeah.
Pilter. Yeah, I was practicing saying his name for the past 48 hours.
You knew Lyle was about to check you on it.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be you. I thought
No,
it was
not me.
gonna
I don't
be
care.
Do you?
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny to make fun of us when we mess up on the names.
Yeah, no, that is a fact though. But yeah, I thought watching it again, you saw where Jan only lost the first round, right? Where he lost the first round, he made the adjustments, and he was more or less touching him without knocking him out, and going through over the next 3 rounds, and then going into the fifth was it wasn't really much left at that point. Like it was kind of definitive, and you could tell like telling your fighter like, hey, just all you got to do is touch him is not really going to get you it's not going to get you anywhere in the long run. Definitely, like you said, going for one being down, he really should have been looking for a knockout in the fifth round.
I agree.
But what do you think of the fight, Lyle? My bad. Were you done, Spence?
Well, no, yeah, for the most part, yeah.
I think that Piotr Jan had a great performance. I felt like we learned a lot about him once again, and I gave us 3 rounds to 1 going into the fifth. I thought the probably the most debatable round of the fight might have been that second round, but I gave that round to Piotr Jan because of the power, because of the
leg kicks or the body kick.
The body kick, but just the damage overall. While I felt like Corey Sandhagen, he was starting to slow down at the end of the round, and his punches weren't really punches. They were kind of like he's just touching and it was to score points, not really impacting him. And the thing I liked most about that fight was how Pilter was every round. He was just kicking it up a notch. Yeah. He was going up another level every round, and I was like, yeah, man, this guy's the best bantamweight in the world. And if he fights Aljo again, I don't know. I don't see Aljo beating him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because that's the fight to make there at bantamweight. So I'll be curious to see.
Yeah, same here.
Now, after that, the main event came on, and this was a surprise and a half. Last week on the podcast, me and Lau were doing the predictions for the show. We both gave multiple reasons why Glover Teixeira should have lost this fight, and he did not. He actually is now the UFC's light heavyweight champion. Light heavyweight champion from Brazil. Hasn't happened in a while. No. Leo Machida was the last Brazilian light heavyweight champion, if I'm not mistaken. Or
no, wrong.
Who was it?
Shogun.
I said, all right. I just said Shogun.
Oh, I didn't hear you say Shogun.
You got to listen. You got to peep the signs. Anyways.
And on top of it, he's the...
I can't be mad at that, Nigel. I ain't mad at that.
That's funny, man.
Go ahead. What were you saying, Spence?
Nah, I was gonna say he was also I believe he's the second oldest fighter to actually win the championship as well.
Who's the first? Do you know? Randy Couture?
I'm not sure. That's who I'm assuming it would be.
I'm sure it has to be Randy Couture. If not,
it has to be Randy.
Listeners, correct us. I'm not looking that shit up. I'm assuming it's Randy Couture. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, you know what I mean? But like, whatever. Anyways, Glover Teixeira won the title. Second round submission. Who would have thought? You know what I mean? He really just kind of dominated the fight from beginning to end. It didn't really look like Jan ever really. DC said it when he was in the ring with him. It never really seemed like he got into the next gear of the fight. I'm not sure if something was off, if he just, if it was something. But honestly, the only reason why I could think, like, I just feel like Glover was just better. and he won the title. I don't really want to take anything away from him because, it's a long time coming. He's been in the UFC for a bit doing this. And, shouts out to Glover Teixeira.
And congratulations to him. He could call it a career now if he wanted to. And shouts out to him.
Yeah, nah, definitely shout outs to him. I think it's super dope that even at 42, he actually ended up finally becoming champion. It just kind of shows like the resiliency of a fighter. But yeah, nonetheless, shout outs to him. I'm curious to see how his next bout goes. Now, one thing I will say is that it really just shows me now that John Jones has left this division.
I didn't want to be the one to say it. I said that shit.
Yeah,
I said that shit in a while.
Yeah, as soon as I saw, because remind you, when I watched the Glover Teixeira fight, right?
Right.
I didn't watch him when it live, but I had no idea who won.
Okay.
So I had no idea who won. So when he won the fight, I was like, yo, this belt is really having like a nice little greasy neck chain tour right now. Now that John is going, this is when I understand like, oh, how someone could be so good that the talent doesn't even exist. Nope.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. Like, think about that. If he was there, probably neither of them would be champion. We'd probably be talking about him facing like, I can't even remember his name, Brazilian light heavyweight.
With the Thor on his chest?
Nah, he just fought him though.
Yeah, not Dominic Reyes.
Wow, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh.
What Brazilian dude?
Just fought the guy who has the hand around his chest. I can't remember his name right now either. I'm having a huge Thiago Santos. Who just fought him?
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Walker.
Anyways, yeah.
Wow. Like, shout outs to John. Shout outs to John Jones. Shout outs to John Jones, man. It just shows you, man. Like, I thought it was something when we finally saw DC finally be champion when John was gone, right? But now that John has literally vacated the whole division, the division, they just having fun out there now. You got Adesanya coming up fighting at 205 for the championship. Now you got Glover Teixeira. This is interesting now, man.
Yeah. So shout out to 267. That was an interesting card. I'm glad it came on during the day. Unfortunately, but fortunately,